right. Peace, everybody. Welcome. All right. Peace, everyone. My name is Substantial, or Stan Robinson, depending on how you know me. And I'm joined by my partner in crime, Rochelle Etienne Robinson. She is co-CEO of Substantial Art and Music, which is a business that we have together. And so, hey, how you feeling?
I'm good. Peace, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, so we're excited to go live with you all today. While a good amount of you who subscribe to this to my YouTube channel are familiar with the music that I make, a lot of you aren't familiar with the business that we run together. And so today we're just going to do a quick presentation that's called Starter Kit, which is for up and coming creatives. A lot of you who are just starting out, trying to find ways to monetize what you do and trying to make a career doing what you're passionate about. And so we have our own YouTube channel, which I'm definitely going to ask you to subscribe to in a few minutes when I provide you with the link. But we wanted to bring this here live on the station. So just like any other presentation that I would do live, whether we're talking about live performance or anything else, make sure you say peace. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Make sure you share the link. Just because this might not be something that you need, it doesn't mean that you don't know musicians, visual artists, people who are part of nonprofit organizations who could use this information. We're doing this presentation completely for free. We are taking donations, but it's not necessary. The biggest thing for us is to make sure we're helping out other creatives like ourselves. And so I'm gonna stop talking so much and let this amazing woman that I've been blessed enough to share space and life with talk to y'all for a bit. All right.
Hello again. Welcome. So again, my name is Rochelle Etienne Robinson, co-CEO and founder of Substantial Art and Music. As Stan had mentioned, this event is completely free. We are accepting donations. A portion of the proceeds will go to benefit Creative Suitland Art Center, which is an art center located in Suitland, Maryland. If you like what you hear today, we encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Art and Music. If you like hearing inspirational stories of artists and their journey, we also have a podcast called Artistry, where art meets industry. And definitely it's available on all streaming platforms as well as YouTube. And lastly, we also want to let you know that if you like what you see, as far as these t-shirts are concerned, they are available on our website at subartandmusic.com. And so we just want to do some shameless plugs before we get started. But yeah, please refer to the chat for the links that we have available for you. Again, as Stan has mentioned, we are about to do roll calls. So please, if you are just joining us, please state your name, where you're calling from, and what art discipline. Are you a visual artist? Are you a performing artist? Are you a literary artist? Maybe you're in new media or film? Let us know where you're coming from and what you do so that we can get familiar.
Definitely. You took it back for a minute. You said where you're calling from. You know what I'm saying? We're old school. Yeah. You know what I mean? Our age is showing. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, definitely. Just let us know in the comments. Shout out to Mugen. I see you up in there. See you with the name change. All right. But definitely let us know where you're watching from. And if you are creative, definitely let us know what it is you do. And it's not just for us. It's to get an idea of who's in the room. But more importantly, it's also to show you who's in the room, because sometimes you're working on music and you need a graphic designer, and then there's a graphic designer sitting a few feet from you when we're actually in public, or in this case, live in the chat with you. Right. So definitely let us know what you do. And if you're someone who's just here to support and just here to hear the information and maybe planning to share it with someone in your network, that's cool too. And again, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't. I just dropped the link for Substantial Art and Music's YouTube channel, so you can subscribe there. And you can also see the podcast there and all of that as well. We recently interviewed the homie Verbal. For some of you, you might know him as L Universe, but Verbal from Inflow was recent guest on our podcast. We also interviewed Kokai, and our podcast is also a great place just to get great information, to learn from people who've been in the business for a very long time. and talk about the different paths that they've taken to get to success. And all the people that we talk to are full-time creatives. So it's not the typical interview. It's not just, so what was it like working on this album, right? It's like basically, what were the challenges while you were making the record? How did you overcome those challenges? How have you diversified your income over the years? How do you create passive income doing? Those are the type of questions and the things we get into when we're interviewing people, because we're trying to give them a fuller scope of what it's like to be a creative and be successful.
And speaking of questions, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please enter them in the chat. We will address them at the very end. So if you come across anything or you hear something that sparks an idea or a question, please enter that in the chat. And again, we'll address it at the end. All right, without further ado, you want to get started?
Yeah, go
okay,
ahead.
so we're going to be sharing our screen with you of the presentation. Feel free to write notes if you like. If you provide us with your contact information, if you want a copy of this, we can provide you with a copy of the presentation as well.
Absolutely.
So without further ado, we're going to get started with Starter Kit.
All right. And if you, again, if you have questions, just drop them in the chat. I see some people, we literally got people hitting us on multiple platforms. So I'm going to be multitasking a bit. All right. So give us 1 second. Presentations a go. And here we go.
All right. So going with Starter Kit, giving you guys a little bit of background on us and what you're going to be experiencing today. So as far as the agenda is concerned, we're going to give you a brief introduction on who we are, what we're about as an organization. We're going to provide you with steps to let you know what are the first things that you should be doing. If you're just starting out, what are the very first things you should do? We'll touch a little bit on social media marketing, as well as some tricks of the trade, how to develop your bio, what supplies should you be gathering now. And then, like I said, we'll mention the Q&A after. All right. Now, about Sam. So, Substantial Art and Music started in 2017. Stan and I had been always giving advice and reaching out to our friends and family about different things, how to navigate, or how to promote their business. And we finally decided, we need to just form this business and do this for real. And so that's what we decided to do. We are a husband and wife duo. We do this full time. And this is how we provide for our family. We provide a series of workshops, as well as provide a service, whether it's social media marketing, crowdfunding, passive income, developing your website, creating your logo. We provide a lot of hand-holding and provide you with the service, not only to provide you with the service to do it for you, but also to train you so that you can handle it and do it yourself as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a major part of what we offer folks. While a lot of businesses, definitely the subscription model is the way to go for a lot of businesses these days. And we also use that model too. But the ultimate goal, as Rochelle just stated, is to create, help other creatives basically create these opportunities, learn how to keep these things going, whether they're working with us or not, All right, next slide.
Okay, a little bit about us individually. So my background, how Stan and I met, actually, we met in college. We both attended Pratt Institute in Brooklyn, New York.
Brooklyn's in the house.
So yes, and so I was in fashion design. Stan was in graphic design. I have experience in both media, in marketing, advertising, working with nonprofits, as well as grants management and arts administration.
All right. And I ain't got to say nothing because you just said it all. So keep it moving. Right. All right. And shout out to, the folks that we basically, as quick as we started our business in 2017, one of the first presentations we did was with a group of employees at Amazon headquarters out in Seattle. So shout out to them. But let's go ahead and get into it. The objective, by the way, is to provide our community with tools and resources to lead them on a path to creative entrepreneurship. So definitely let's go ahead and buckle in. And if you haven't shared that link, please do so. Shout out to the folks in the chat who've been sharing what they do. We have Tarshay. I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, but she is from Hyattsville, literary and performing artist, and also theater teachers. Shout out to her, and shout out to the homie Beezy up in here, Sean Beezy. All right, master of none, but he is the plug. Brother knows everybody. Shout out to him for joining us. Warpath says, personally, have always been a traditional artist, but I graduated in graphic design media last year. Congratulations. I do also want to get into music eventually. That's what's up. Well, yeah, thank you for joining us. And he shouted out the logo. That's what's up. We appreciate the love. So let's keep it moving. All right. So first things first.
All right, we're going to do a quick little exercise about logos. Now, I'm assuming that everybody knows just about every logo that's listed here. But Stan, if you want to go and dive a little deeper about why the importance of a logo.
Yes. So as she mentioned, there are a variety of logos on the screen right now that you should be familiar with. A lot of these logos, majority of these logos, or close to half of these logos, literally have no word with them. So part of it, successful branding is people see certain colors, see certain shapes, and they automatically know it's you. And so it's a key part of building your business. And, you know, it's very much something you should be thinking about in the very beginning, along with, of course, figuring out what it is you want to do first and foremost. But you definitely want to establish your brand from the beginning. All right, so let's keep it going. And so the first quote that we have for you here says, people are far more interested in getting attention from an audience than they are in creating something worthy of getting an audience's attention. And this is from, I always mispronounce, we're going to say Rao. We're just going to go with that last name. But definitely Srinivas. See, my wife is so well educated. I am a college dropout on the other hand. But definitely it seems that in today's climate, people are far more interested in just having people look at them and look at, just give them attention, as opposed to actually creating things that are worthy of that attention, as the quote state. And so, that's something we're going to dive further into before we jump into the different things you could be doing to monetize it. All right. You got to make sure you have something that's worthy of the money people are trying to give you. Okay.
Okay, so first things first. So the next slide is just basically a shopping list of things that you should be gathering and or doing. So the first things first, you want to master your craft. You should spend as much time developing your skill set as you do marketing it. So, we talk about a lot about putting in your time, put in your 10,000 hours, really become a master of what it is that you're trying to do or that you're interested in doing. Do your research, do your homework, participate, network. Next is branding. You are not only an artist, but you are a brand. You want to make sure that you secure your company name and or your actual name. You also want to make sure you register your name and or business. If you are interested in either developing a sole proprietorship, a LLC, limited liability company, you definitely want to start with that. There's some tax benefits. We are not certified tax preparers, so I just want to disclose that. But there are some benefits to keeping your personal assets and your business assets, income, expenses separate. You want to create a logo, as we mentioned before in the very first, in one of the few first slides, the importance of that, whether it's your name, whether it's a symbol, whether it's an icon, you want to create that so that folks can, without even hearing your name, if they see a visual, they know that it's you or can associate it with you. Next, you would want to trademark your name and logo. There are steps that we can, right now we're giving you a general list of things. If you want to learn more, again, obviously you are more than welcome to reach out to us and we could provide you with more details on how to go about doing that. You want to secure all social media handles associated with your name. So for right now, if you all have a personal account, but your business or your artist name is different, but you do not have that currently listed on any social media platforms, you definitely want to go ahead and start and do that as soon as possible. And make sure that you're consistent. If you're going to be on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, you want to make sure that the names travel within those sites and it's consistent. You don't want to have one name on one site, one name on the other site. It's going to be very difficult for folks to find you.
For example, you don't want to have I Am Substantial on Twitter and then Substantial Music everywhere else, right? So
learn from our mistakes.
Exactly. So, and so for example, like with our business, it's Sub Art and Music across all platforms, website, and everything. There are certain things that earlier in my career I didn't think about. It's one of those things a lot of things you're going to learn on the job. And but as you learn those things, you want to make sure that you're learning from your mistakes. You're figuring out better ways to brand, and definitely consistency is key.
Mm-hmm. And then last on this list is create a website. Now, we always joke whenever we talk about website, is it still important with all the social media that's out there? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. For those of you that are old enough to remember MySpace, enough said.
Right.
Okay. So you want to make sure that you have a domain that is your own. So, granted, Facebook has been around for quite some time now. 20 years from now, will people be still using it? We don't know. Your website, on the other hand, more than likely, yes. And so you can use, social media as a platform, and which is what it is a platform, but your base should always be with your own personal or company website. And
a great, more recent example of this is the situation going on with WhatsApp right now. WhatsApp, unless it gets purchased by an American company, I know there's rumors going around that Microsoft is interested in purchasing it. But unless it gets purchased, if this thing goes through that the government's trying to what did I say?
You said WhatsApp.
My bad. Yeah, meant to say TikTok. TikTok. So if things happen with TikTok and it doesn't get purchased by an American company, it could be a thing of the past, at least for for a short period of time. So definitely something to consider. When you're trying to push your brand, you don't want to have to rely on too many outside sources, because keep in mind too, because you're ultimately just product to them, right? Like you're something that they use to kind of market to outside people to generate more funds for them, not necessarily for you. That's why they make it so difficult with algorithms and different things. So you ultimately have to spend more money just to be seen, even though people chose to follow you to begin with. So yeah, definitely a lot to keep in mind. And shout out to Urban Mask. Yes, I absolutely meant TikTok. It's been a long day already.
Yeah, because Facebook's actually already owns
WhatsApp. Yes, yeah. So definitely. So you might want to pay attention to that if you're a person like some of these folks out here that already have like 1 million followers on TikTok, because things could be changing very quickly. All right, so let's keep it moving.
All right, next steps, moving along with first things first. So you want to collect, and this is particularly for those that are individual artists, whether you're performing artists or visual artists. If you ever are considering applying for a grant, either in the near future or later on the road, these are definitely items that you want to start thinking about and are gathering. So first things first, you want to start collecting required items like your tax ID. To obtain a tax ID number or EIN number is completely free. All you have to do is go to irs.gov to obtain one, and that is it's like a Social Security number in that it's associated with your business. And so you want to have that first. If you are interested in working with the government, either federal or state level, like let's say the Smithsonian, something that you're going to have to obtain for your business or as an individual is called a DUNS number. Also, it's free to obtain. And we could talk more about that in detail. It doesn't really affect too many people. It's mainly for those who are interested in working with the government or military. Next is, of course, maintain your tax information. It's always good to hold on to your documents, hard copies preferably, or even digital files, 3 to 5 years, just in case for an audit, or you need it for reference, or if you're applying for a loan or grant, whatever. And then next, you want to also obtain your proof of residency. Anyone who has either applied for a grant in the past or is interested in applying for a grant, you definitely want to maintain documents, either digital or paper files, usually proof of residency is not only your driver's license or passport, they also want to know where is that you live, where you reside. And the best way to prove that is if you have a utility bill. I would recommend like an electric bill, because usually electric bill, they will actually on your statement, if you ever look at your statement, it actually has a 12-month cycle of what your rates were for the past 12 months. And that way that's showing proof that you resided at that particular location, at least for the last 12 months. A lot of grantors want to see that you have been a resident and have maintained residency within that state, county, within a certain period of time. So you want to just get in the habit of keeping that readily available. Next, you want to do is prepare a digital portfolio. Your portfolio, again, if you guys have Gmail, Google Drive is a great place to start reserving a lot of your documents there. You want to make sure you have an updated resume and that you maintain an updated resume. You want to provide, if you're a musician or a visual artist, you want to provide high quality audio and or visual work samples, usually 3 to 5, no longer than 5 minutes, because a lot of times grantors are not going to go beyond 2 to 5 minutes anyway. List of professional arts activity and or achievement that you have obtained, and then supplementary material. If you have testimonials from people, if you have reviews, article clippings, write-ups, any of that stuff, you want to maintain those and keep that in a safe place so that, again, when you're applying for certain opportunities, you have that also readily available. You want to begin to prepare, if you don't have one already, a narrative of basically your story. It could be a long bio or short bio. So you want to have a short bio that's 3 to 5 sentences, and then a long bio that gives a little bit more detail, provides a little bit more detail about you and or your organization. You want to, if you are thinking of a particular project, I know a lot of things have changed in as we live through a pandemic. If you are thinking of projects, whether it's an event, whether it's a virtual event or a physical event, you want to provide a great description of what it is and how you're going about to achieve certain outcomes. You want to prepare a project budget, and basically it doesn't have to be something, certified with your accountant. It's just basically a list of expenses in order to achieve this particular project. And where do you plan to obtain the income to pay for such project? And so if you are doing an event, you want to include the venue. Is it a venue rental? Are you paying for staff? Do you need equipment? How much is that going to cost you? Are you using volunteers? Do you plan to apply for a grant? Are you going to be paying for it for yourself, or are you going to be looking at outside opportunities? So you definitely want to get in the habit of, with any project that you're working on, creating a budget for yourself so you can see it, you can itemize it, and make sure that it makes sense and that you don't leave anything out.
So really quick, just to kind of circle back, because I know we were talking about proof of residency. So Urban Mask asked the question, should I get a P.O. box or use my home address for my business?
So I would say you would technically need both. So you would, P.O. box is great for your business. However, for residency, it doesn't show proof of, because anybody out of state can obtain a P.O. box. So they're still going to want an actual physical address, but for your business, you definitely don't want to share your personal experience or personal address. So you want to obtain both. A P.O. box for your business, so you can receive mail, but for instances where you're applying for a grant and they want proof of residency, proving that you are in fact a resident of that county, city, state, they're going to want a physical address.
And something else that the P.O. box is great for those of you who have mailing lists. A lot of mailing lists these days require you to actually have your address listed. So if you don't want your personal address listed because you don't have a brick and mortar location for your business, a P.O. box is a great alternative. Also, in cases where you sometimes have people who you're doing business with who you don't know very well, and you don't necessarily want to give them your personal address. All right.
Okay. Moving along, you want to start collecting and or thinking about data. We'll talk a little bit about this when we talk about social media marketing. The great thing about both Facebook and Instagram is that they do provide you with insights and or analytics, depending on if you're an Android or iPhone user, so that you can find out and see, how many of your followers are female versus male, when are peak times where they're most engaged, where is your audience coming from. So you want to, if you're not listed as a company, and you're just listed as a personal social media site, you want to convert to a company so you can obtain that information. But you definitely want to look at that. It's a great resource for marketing purposes, so you know when to post, why to post, who you should be posting to. You want to begin collecting what's called quantitative as well as qualitative data. So when we talk about quantitative data, we're talking about quantity, so numbers, so actual figures. For qualitative data, we're talking about more so experiences. Think of it as quality. So when you're having an event, if you're a musician or a performing artist, whether you're a solo act or a group, start thinking about surveying your audience to find out, where are they coming from? What do they like? What are their experiences like? Why would they support you as an individual or as a group? And so it's great for you to know. It's great information to provide grantors if you're interested in applying for a grant. So these are things that you want to definitely think about. You want to prepare a marketing and communications plan. Please, please, please don't just say, I'm going to post to Instagram. That's not a marketing plan. Why are you using Instagram? Why are you using Twitter? Why would you use Facebook? It's based on the data, right? So you want to make sure you come up with a communication plan. We have a great tool that we've been using and referring our clients, which is a social media calendar. For any of you guys that are interested in receiving that, we would be more than happy to provide you with access to that. And basically what it does is it's a calendar. It's a spreadsheet that provides you with different resources as far as if you're applying for Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. It provides you with spaces to list your content, like your copy. What are you actually writing about? When to write about it? Are there any social media holidays that are associated? August is a very busy month. We have, Black August. You have the March on Washington that's coming up. Kids are preparing for back to school virtually. So there's different things that you could sort of tie in your business with what's happening in the community. And so you definitely want to start thinking about, be more specific and provide more details when you think about your marketing and communications. I personally love working with what's called a work plan, which for a lot of people is just a to-do list. For my work plan, it's a little more concise in that it's a spreadsheet. You list all your tasks. If you have a team or if it's just you, you could list, responsible party, who's responsible for that particular task. You have a start date, an end date, the status. Is it complete? Is it pending? Have you not started it yet? And basically whatever project you're thinking of doing, start thinking about it from pre-production to post-production and all points in between. You want to really think out every step of your process in order to complete this project. And that way it helps you, one, to stay on task, and two, to really think thoughtfully about what it is that you're trying to do and to make sure that you don't miss any steps. And also to make sure that you obtain a team if you need one, because, solo work is very, very, very difficult. It can be done, but if you can provide, have the support of either family members, friends, constituents to help you with certain things, it just basically lays everything out for you. Moving on, we have research. If you are, again, applying for grants, you want to research grants that are specific to your medium. If you're a dancer, there are general individual artist grants or, group grants. Of course, there's more opportunities for organizations, particularly nonprofit organizations, than there are for individual artists. There are some out there. It's very competitive. I'm not trying to discourage you, but you just want to make sure that you are completely on point. And this is why we're providing you all these tools and tricks to get you started on your path, because it is competitive, but there are opportunities out there. Things are changing and shifting because of, post-COVID or as we living through COVID. But again, you want to start getting your things, your ducks in a row as you prepare for those opportunities. And then next is to be active in the arts community. To get on my soapbox, I cannot stress enough to you, for those particularly who are nonprofit or who have applied for grants, who are thinking about applying for grants. The National Endowment for the Arts is a federal program located right here in DC, where they provide grant opportunities not only at the federal level, but for all states to apply, state arts or local arts organizations to apply. And if they, every year they're on the chopping block, as the arts are always, are on the chopping block. Whenever people think about budget cuts, they always want to cut the arts. How does that affect you? If you're an artist and you want to apply for certain grant opportunities, or for any opportunity where you're working in partnership with a larger or a local nonprofit organizations, if they are not able to obtain funding from the federal government, which is the NEA, it's a trickle down effect. I mean, we're already seeing it right now with COVID, with the pandemic, where resources are very slim. And so I highly recommend being very much involved in what's happening in your local, in your state, as well as at the government, at the state level, and also at the federal level. Just make sure that you get your ear to the street and really find out what's happening and how that affects you and how it affects your greater community. All right. Moving on to developing your brand. So I call this the who, just like when we were in school, right? Who, what, when, where, why, and how. So again, just like with your bio, who are you as an artist? And who are you servicing? Who is your audience? You want to really think thoughtfully about that. This is what's gonna help you develop, again, your bio if you don't have one already. What is your mission and vision? Just like a business, you want to make sure that you address what is your mission and your vision. What do you see for yourself for the future, for the near future, and for your legacy? If you have a specific project, what is your project? Again, just like what we talked about earlier, what is your budget? What is the impact of your budget, or your project rather? What is your experience? Like, okay, if you're trying to do a festival or event, what experience has prepared you to put an event like that? Have you done it before? Have you worked? Have you volunteered? We want that's where your resume comes in. You want to make sure that you provide that. What is your goal? What is your ultimate goal for doing this event or program? So these are things, again, you want to start to think about. When will the project occur? And what is your deadline? And one thing I would like to add is, what is your contingency plan? Because as we can see, a lot of us, had a lot of plans last year, and a lot of that got defunct because of our current situation. So I would recommend, especially now, having experienced this, when you have a project or a program that you want to pursue, come up with a contingency plan for yourself and also for the organizations that you're working with or pursuing funding. Because now, whether it's a hurricane, whether it's a hurricane, an earthquake, a pandemic, like you have to come up with contingency plans because anything can happen at a drop of a dime. Where would the project take place? You want to start thinking about too, is it ADA compliant? You want to provide, for your audience may not be all able-bodied. Like, are they, is the place that you're having it, is it wheelchair accessible? Do you plan on providing, assistance for the hearing impaired? Like, these are things that you want to think about because, again, this is our society in which we live. And so you want to make sure that you're thinking about that. Why is your project necessary? Like, why are you doing this? Like, what's the purpose? And does it what's the added benefit for you and or for the society as a whole? And then lastly for this, I would say, how do you plan to execute your project? How will you fund the project? How many people will be served by this project or program? And how will you make how will you market your project? So again, going back to the slides that we saw just before this is, again, things that you want to really dive in and begin thinking about. Okay. Next slide is just a brief about challenges. And Stan, did you want to talk about this?
Sure. So basically, what we did was we surveyed a wide variety of artists that we work with. Some are clients, some are people we partnered with, and we asked them about specific topics. So first, the first one is about naysayers. Naysayers are either obstacles or distractions. If an obstacle, your work ethic and the God of your understanding will move them out of your way or show you a way around. If a distraction, that's an internal reflection of your own ego, meaning if they are able to distract you from your goal, that's a you problem. There is some insecurity that allows them to be able to live in your mental space rent free. They need to be evicted, and in order to do so, you may need to identify some not so good things about your own ego. As far as critics, oh, 1 second, sorry. I just realized it might have sounded really low. Made a quick adjustment, so let's just circle back. So real quick again, naysayers. Naysayers are either obstacles or distractions. If an obstacle, your work ethic and the God of your understanding will move them out of the way or show you a way around. If a distraction, that's an internal reflection of your own ego, meaning if they are able to distract you from your goal, that's a you problem. There is some insecurity that allows them to be able to live in your mental space rent free. They need to be evicted, and in order to do so, you may have to identify some not so good things about your own ego. Another thing that was offered about critics was you need to learn from their feedback. There is wisdom. They may never be offended or take harsh words personally. There is always something to learn. Something else that was said was stay true to your own vision. Know that your art is not for everyone. Focus on your audience, those who do appreciate your art. All right. And then as far as time management, make sure you're prioritizing time. Commit to work-life balance, which is key. And definitely work-life balance is a struggle, especially with COVID going on, with a lot of us working from home. And with your kids, our kid, we got one that's asleep right now. The other one is either on YouTube or playing her favorite video game. And when they're not doing that, they want our time. And of course, it's our job to make sure we make time for them. But at the same time, we have to provide. So definitely, it is a struggle in this. It was a struggle before COVID. It's even more of a struggle now. And then last, going back to ego. The second I stopped thinking people were blessed to be working with me, and instead I focus on quality customer service at any cost, business had been booming. And that's something we can identify with as well. Like, definitely there's a lot of adjustments that we've made as a business. And one of the things that I said to a client of ours, shout out to Brother Victorious. He has a business, a smoothie shop that we just came from called Spizzy. And one of the things that we talked about, because his business has been thriving in the midst of this current pandemic, and we were just talking about how exciting it was, right? And how dope it was. And what I said to him was something that we were realizing. And that's when you take care of the people, when you've dedicated your life to taking care of the people, you ultimately, the people ultimately take care of you. And so whatever your business is, when you keep people and serving people at a high priority, those same people will then look out for you. So please keep that in mind. All right, so let's keep it moving.
Okay, and if you're just joining us, welcome to Starter Kit. We are sharing slides with you now. We will be making this available at the end, where we can provide you with a link of where you can get this slide if you're just joining us. But if you're just joining us, again, welcome. Right now, we're going to move on to social media. So we're going to get social.
All right.
Social.
All right. So let's do that. All right. And really quick for those who and shout out to BZ. Thanks for the heads up. Made a quick adjustment, which might have made it too loud, but thank you. So you definitely, as far as our social media, you can check us out online: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and IG. It's just SubArtandMusic, as I mentioned before, and also our website, subartandmusic.com. But let's talk social media for a little bit, okay? So we mentioned it before. We're gonna come back to it again. Social media is cool. It's all right? It's great in some cases, but make sure you register your .com. Okay. And when I say make sure you do it, I mean the second you figure out what it is and you go on an incognito link or private link to kind of search to see if it's available, make sure that when you're doing that, you're ready to purchase it as soon as possible. You already got the business name registered and everything, and you can grab that .com quickly, because as great as social media is, it does not replace your website. All right. Make sure you create relevant profiles on various social media networks. You don't necessarily have to have something on every platform. Obviously, the top three for most businesses is Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Depending on who your audience is, what age range they fall into. If you're serving older crowd, then you might be spending a bit more time on Facebook versus something like Instagram. And so these are all things to consider. Now, also, make sure that when you create a bio about yourself or your business, that you have not just a full bio, but a short one as well. Because as we know, some of these platforms only allow you to have like a few characters for your bio. So you want to take time to craft one that works within the space. And make sure you take time to get familiar with social media analytics. It's extremely important. You want to basically know what time of day most of your audience is online. You want to have an idea of like what age group they fall into. All of these different things are extremely important as far as the decision making. Create a social media calendar. As we mentioned before, we do have one that we found some time ago that we share with all our clients and people who participate in these presentations. So definitely, if you go to our website and register at subartmusic.com and sign up for our mailing list, those of you who sign up today will make sure we'll send you not only this presentation, but also a copy of the social media calendar. But basically what it allows you to do, it's a template for you to plan out what you want to post from day to day. You can either use it as a daily thing, or if you know that there are key dates throughout the year that you definitely want to post something, you can kind of plan that out ahead of time. All right. Next up, we have promote posts that are organically performing well. You do not need to promote every post. I don't care how important you deem every post or even most of your posts. Basically, if you post something and it's performing like extremely well, it's performing 90% better than majority of the stuff that you've posted, and it's related to something that you want to get on more eyes, those are the things that you can throw, as little as $5 behind, or as much as you like, to promote for as little time or as much time as you like. But don't post a flyer, and then that flyer, let's say you have 1,000 followers, and on average you see like around like 50 to 100 likes or something like that, right? Maybe I'm being generous, who knows? But let's say in that case that you post this flyer and this flyer is performing worse than anything you've posted. That does not mean you need to boost that post or promote that post. It's letting you know already that it's not performing well because it's getting less traffic. It's basically saying that based on the algorithm, your audience doesn't seem very interested. Because keep in mind, when you post something, a small percentage of your audience sees that initial post. These are your super followers, your core audience, the people who are most active on your page. If they do not interact with it, more than likely it will not be visible to most of your audience. So that means if something does not perform well, that doesn't mean you need to try to promote that thing. It means you need to find a different way to go about promoting that thing and maybe use different content. An article I just read today, just a quick heads up, they said that the carousel feature right now on Instagram is starting to perform really well, and will raise performance on your posts roughly by an additional 2%. So that's something to consider. But it's also important to know that doesn't necessarily mean a carousel with 2 images. They're saying the carousel with 10 images, including potential video somewhere sprinkled in between, it also raises engagement because there's more things for people to interact with. All right. Also, remember that as cool as social media is, please make sure you finish any outstanding task before you get lost in the world of Instagram and swiping up, down, and left, right, and all of that good stuff. start. So I'm playing. Just make sure that whatever it is that you had going on in the real world, that you take time, you definitely take time to make sure that you're handling certain bids. If you got invoices that need to go out, bills that need to be paid, items that need to be purchased, merchandise that needs to be shipped, handle those things first and foremost. All right. And the beautiful thing about most social media these days, you can program your post ahead of time. You can upload things like, if you know you're posting something or need to post something this Saturday related to a particular thing, you can absolutely set that up ahead of time. And there's something called Creator Studio, which you can utilize that allows you to do that for both Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, and I was just going to add too that if you're a person that needs discipline, I would highly recommend putting yourself on a timer. Because like Instagram, you keep swiping up and it never ends. It'll just keep going. So if you need to put yourself on a time clock, like, okay, I'm giving myself an hour. That's it.
Yeah. And just make sure that at the top of that, the list of things that you're doing is making sure that any task that you have related to social media, that you knock that stuff out first before you go down the wormhole. All right. And also make sure that you respond to inbound social media messages only when required. That means sometimes people will ask you about things that maybe aren't things that you're interested in. Or things related to why you're on social media. And maybe it's just not professional what they're presenting to you or trying to talk to you about. There's a wide variety of reasons. But ultimately, make sure that you do make time for the ones that deal with your business, that people are being respectful, have some questions and stuff like that. Take the time to answer those questions because those are potential clients. You never know. All right. Make sure that you monitor and respond to untagged brand mentions. Some of you probably ended up finding me on social media or finding us on social media because we saw a post that you did in reference to us and we liked it and then we commented. And maybe depending on what you did, we even followed you. And so that is a very useful strategy. Sometimes people who are thinking about you but aren't necessarily finding you online, if you find them, show appreciation. The fact that they're taking time to talk about your brand and keep you in the conversation, at least in their peer group. So it's definitely a great way to continue to build your audience and make sure you seek and engage potential customers as well. All right. So let's keep it moving. So really quick, this is just some information about beating the algorithm on Facebook and Instagram. And bear in mind, this stuff changes frequently. Like I just mentioned something to you a few minutes ago about the carousel. That's information I just found today. That's why it's not in the presentation. And plus information that we find, we don't always post or share it as quick as we find it. We typically like to test it out for ourselves to see if there's some truth. The carousel thing we've seen firsthand work out extremely well for us when we've utilized that feature on Instagram. So we knew that to be true already. But this is something that is it's basically a living document, so to speak. So there are things that are relevant right now that may not be relevant in a few months, but let's go ahead and jump into it. So strategies for Facebook. Make sure you try to post at optimal times based on not just global activity, but also your analytics. So that means you need to spend a good amount of time in your week, not just liking people's images, but actually analyzing, or not, let's not say analyzing your analytics. Let's just say looking at your analytics. But ultimately, you're going to look at these analytics to figure out, so you can know that I have this percentage of female customers versus male. I have people who are roughly in the age group of between the ages of 24 to 35, and a long list of other things. And they are typically most active on these days of the week during this time of day, right? Those are all things that will help inform your posting habits and basically help you make the most of what you're sharing. It's also going to show you too what's performing well versus what what isn't performing well. So if you keep trying to force something on them that they clearly don't want, then it might be time to try some other things. All right, or find just a new way of presenting that particular thing. So share more video content whenever possible. Most smartphones nowadays, if you have your settings set up properly, shoot HD, so you can provide high quality content at the drop of a dime. Make sure you drive discussions with your posts. Ask questions. Involve your audience in the conversation. Encourage your team, collaborators, employees to share your content as well. Like if you know you're doing a collaborative project and you want to share it on a particular day, you want to make sure that everyone has that same content and you all are posting it. Schedule your posts, whether it's you're all posting it at the same time or you're staggering your posts. You just want to make sure that you're utilizing the team that you've built and that you all are maximizing your content when you share it online. Also, photos, almost anything over links. If you're posting links, what you're ultimately saying is, hey, I want you to leave this platform, and they don't like that. So if you post a link and you notice that whenever you post a link, you only get 2 likes versus when you post a photo, it gets 100 likes. It's just a reminder that they don't want people leaving their platform, right? So just keep that in mind. Like if you have a way to do that, like to share that photo and in the caption, you let people know that this is something that you got going on. Hey, hit me up if you have any more questions. People can then hit you. Hey, I'm interested in the thing you posted about. Great. Here's a link. Now it's time for a link because someone's actually asking for it. All right. And make sure your posts are unique. Don't be one of these people who spam folks with the same image over and over and over again. It usually does not perform well, especially when it's flyers. So that's something to keep in mind. Strategies for Instagram: better photo quality, definitely. When possible, you want to make sure it's the best photo quality you can present. Obviously, for Throwback Thursday, there are exceptions. Share more video content. Again, keep in mind Facebook owns Instagram, so certain things apply across both platforms. Share to your stories frequently. Go live often. And write stronger captions, right? An engaging story will keep your audience, on your page longer, interacting with other posts, looking for more content like that inspires them. And obviously using hashtags never hurt either. All right. I've mentioned it before and I'll mention it again. Make sure you check out Creator Studio for Instagram and Facebook. It actually shows you what your caption limit is. It shows you what your hashtag limit is, shows you what your limit in terms of how many people you can tag, all of that. And it allows you to schedule your Instagram posts along with your Facebook posts. All right. So definitely check out Creator Studio if you aren't familiar already. Okay.
All right. We're going to move on to funding your art. But before we get started, I want to know, I'm just curious in the chat, do you consider yourself a novice or an experienced person navigating social media? So if you feel that you are a novice, put novice in the chat. If you feel that you are experienced, go put expert. There you go. So we just want to see what we're working with.
See who we dealing with, I know a few of you are definitely experts when it comes to certain things. Shout out to the wide variety of folks that we have in here as well. Los Angeles Art, appreciate the love. Thank you. Shout out to Calvin. That's what's up, man. Good to see you up in here. Avis is dope. And Sean Beasy is another great one who's been out here working hard. Urban Mask is actually part of the reason that this presentation is running so smoothly. Shout out to Urban Mask because he put me on the OBS quite some time ago. All right. In between, I'm lazy though. Luna Buddy, shout out to her. We partnered with her to do a lot of awesome projects. We'll keep you posted on those. So let's jump into it. So we have a quote for funding your art. Okay, it's actually, we're gonna take you to church on a Friday before you out here doing your dirt. Ship your grain across the sea. After many days, you may receive a return. Invest in 7 ventures, yes, 8, You do not know what disaster may come upon the land. Too real right now.
Right.
If clouds are full of water, they pour rain on the earth. Whether a tree falls to the south or the north, in the place where it falls, there it will lie. Whoever watches the wind will not plant. Whoever looks at the clouds will not reap. As you do not know the path of the wind or how the body is formed in a mother's womb, so you cannot understand the work of God, the maker of all things. Sow your seeds in the morning, and at evening, let your hands not be idle, for you do not know which will succeed, whether this or that, or whether both will do equally well. All right. Just a gem we want to share with you before we jump into funding your art. That deals a lot with diversifying your income, also passive income, right? So we're going to talk about this for a second. So let me go ahead to this next slide. So yeah, we want you to start thinking about different types of income, right? Different types of funds, whether we're talking about investors, passive income / side hustles, friends, family, grants, crowdfunding, full-time, part-time job. Definitely something that these are different ways you can fund whatever it is you're doing, whether we're talking about an art project, an album, your business, whatever it is. There's more than one way to fund it. All right, so let's jump into the next. So, Mrs. Robinson.
Okay. So one of the ways in which to fund your art, as we mentioned before, is through grants. And so basically a broad generalization is grants are basically one of the many different forms of receiving financial assistance that does not need to be paid back, unlike a loan, for instance. And so where can you find these opportunities? So mostly at the state, city, and local government levels, even through corporations, foundations, and even individuals, they will have opportunities where you can look. So for instance, we live in Virginia, you have at the state level, you have the Virginia Commission, and that's another thing. They have different names. So some organizations might call the Arts Council, another might call the Arts Commission. So you want to do your research as far as just a Google search of different art opportunities that are available, or artist grants, project support grants, operating support grants. So if you're an organization, there are different types of grants that you can apply for. If you're an individual artist, it's primarily usually individual artist grants or a fellowship where you receive funding. Either it may be for a specific project. Most of the time it's based on merit, just based on your experience, what you've already have completed and accomplished. How do you apply? Typically with companies and organizations, they have a lot of organizations have now moved away from paper and are providing their applications online. And so once you identify which organization you want and that you qualify, you can apply online. One tip I will say is when applying, work from a separate document. A lot of these digital applications, it's just more opportunity to do a slip up and submit, and then you didn't even finish completing your application. So I would say view the online application, copy and paste the questions onto a Google Doc or into a Word document or whatever word processing document, and enter the information from that separate document. And once you're done and have had it proofread by a spouse, a partner, a friend, whoever, once you are ready, then just copy and paste it onto the actual application, online application, and submit it from there. Believe me when I say several folks have submitted applications that were not complete. And so we're just trying to give you tricks of the trade. What to prepare? I would refer you back to the slides that we talked about earlier, the who, what, when, where, and why, and how. And so definitely you want to start working on that. When to apply. A lot of times the timeframes vary depending on who you're applying through. Because of COVID, I mean, some things have shifted a bit. Most nonprofit organizations work on a fiscal calendar schedule. Typically, it's not a calendar year, like January through December. A lot of them work from July 1st of the current year. So, for instance, fiscal year 2021 is July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. And so a lot of applications tend to be due on August, maybe November, and then again in the spring. If you plan to apply for a grant, the turnaround is not, most of the time, it is not quick. It is not, you apply today, you find out next month. A lot of times you don't find out for several months. And so you want to, again, going back to the whole budget and planning piece, you want to plan for the future. You're planning for 3 to 6 months out, not for a quick turnaround. So that's another thing to consider. Who typically gets funded for grants? Applicants that exhibit an individual human benefit. Remember, we were talking earlier about who are you servicing? So you want to be able to exhibit a human benefit and or a societal benefit. So basically, this is bigger than you, right? So you want to start thinking about, when we talk about marginalized groups, right? So we're talking about ethnic. We're talking about groups that are just not serviced, whether it's veterans, whether it's the elderly, whether it's pre-K, whether it's K-12, immigrant. I mean, there's tons of different areas to think of groups that are not being served. And so how can your art service them? It doesn't have to be all. It's just, you pick something that you know specifically, or you have a deep empathy for, and work from there. And then why apply for a grant? So I'm going to put that on to you all. So in the chat, why would you apply for a grant? Based on what we discussed today, what do you think are some of the benefits of applying for a grant? And so I'll give you guys some time to do that while we set up the next slide, okay? And then we'll be moving on to passive income. But yeah, in the chat, why do you think, what would be some of the benefits of applying for a grant that you can think of?
And while you're thinking about that, let me tell you why you should be listening to this advice that you're getting. So Mrs. Robinson, Rochelle, is a former grants manager. With the Arts Council of Fairfax. They have a new name now, right?
Yeah, Arts Fairfax.
Arts Fairfax. And so she spent a lot of time reviewing this type of information and helping others who were and doing presentations for people who were looking to get grants. We also both have experience working with Covenant House Washington, helping them during their grant processes, and also obviously for our business, we've been blessed in helping some of our clients pursue grants and win grants as well as receiving other types of funds. So definitely this is something that we've been blessed to have some success with in helping not just ourselves, but others. So make sure you definitely look into ways you can pursue getting grants for you and yours to continue the great work you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, granted, it's free money, and that's always good. Mm-hmm. However, the caveat is that, you a lot of grants, you do have to supply them with what's called a final report. Mm-hmm. Some individual grants, you get the money and that's it. You're done. But some want to know, what did you end up using the money for? Like merit-based, you can typically use the money for whatever you want. You could, if you want to go on vacation, you can use it for vacation. But still, they want to know, like, how has this money serviced you? How has it serviced the community at large? And so those are things that you want to consider too. And it's time. Like, free is free, yes, but this is time that you're going to be putting in. And if you really want to be a contender, you're going to have to put in the work.
Definitely. All right, so we're going to jump into funding your art, side hustle / passive income. And this is like nowadays, this is something that a lot of people, everyone has a side hustle, right? But not everyone thinks about passive income. A lot of people in various industries only know how to get money when they're physically present doing something to get money. So definitely, it's something you want to think about, especially in this climate nowadays. Like your ability to be able to do something, provide some type of service, do a particular thing one time that continues to make money for you without you physically being present, especially during a pandemic. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about it. So a side hustle is anything you do to earn money outside of a day job. However, in order to be successful, you must be professional. Treat your side business as a true business. You must deliver on value regarding your product or service. So right now, we're just focusing on side hustle for a second. So what can you do to earn money? Sell and or market your services using Fiverr. Sell and or market your services using Skillshare. Create an online course with a platform like Udemy and Teachable. Release music / singles and or albums via streaming platforms. Offer private lessons to teach your skill to individuals from your audience, and network. Live stream performances or presentations with your PayPal, Venmo, Cash App to collect donations. Which reminds me, this is a free presentation. And we're doing this for the people. A lot of people could utilize this information to hopefully make some changes in their lives and provide for themselves and their children and family and all of that. And so we definitely we pride ourselves on making sure we make this information available to the public. Yes, in the past we have charged for some of our workshops. Others have been free. Some have been online, some have been offline. But the most important thing to us is that we are creatives. We are people of this community, of the global community. And we want to make sure that we put others in a position to thrive and provide for themselves doing what they love most, because that's what we're blessed to be able to do. So that's why we're offering this for free today. However, if you would like to donate, we would definitely be grateful for those donations. So this is just a quick link to PayPal. It's also you could also donate via Cash App and Venmo. Sorry about the spacing issue with that paste job just now. Shout out to Malcolm Jackson, an amazing musician and a good brother, and everyone else up in here. So real quick to the comments before we keep it moving. Sean Beasley says, maybe I can help the youth who want to get paid for their creativity avoid the mistakes I've made by empowering them with education. Never thought about applying for a grant or being a nonprofit. Brother, that's powerful. And I think you are just the brother to do it. Like, you are a wealth of information. I'm blessed to know people like yourself. So I think that would be awesome, brother. And there's plenty of creatives out here you could partner with who are already doing it, or that can help you take those next steps.
And I would just like to add that a portion of the proceeds that we do obtain today will be donated to Creative Suitland, located again in Suitland, Maryland, which is an art center in Suitland, Maryland.
Malcolm Jackson says he to provide and advance the current state of the arts and to give opportunities to students and youth. Man, I love it. Y'all about the young folk, and that's super dope, man. It's important work. All right. So now we're going to talk about crowdfunding. So we have a lot of experience with crowdfunding. Over the years, we've literally, I think our success rate right now is somewhere over 80%. There's only been 2 crowdfunding campaigns that we've helped clients with that have not met their full goal. However, they were able to walk away with something as opposed to nothing. So we have a lot of success and a lot of great stories around helping folks with crowdfunding. So let's jump into it. So for those who don't know, there are 4 different types of crowdfunding. Majority of you are familiar with reward-based crowdfunding, which is the most well-known, or one of the most well-known types of crowdfunding. In most cases, you basically say that, hey, I'm going to do this particular thing, and if you provide me with a certain amount of money. And then when people make that contribution, they make that pledge, you hit your goal, and then you ultimately provide them with that service. Shout out to Creative Suitland. They are our partner for today and a client. Yes.
The slide.
Oh, yeah. Let me go ahead and move that. My apologies. All right. So, yeah, I jumped ahead. My apologies. So, again, we're talking about crowdfunding now. And shout out to Creative Suitland once again. So, again, there are 4 types of crowdfunding: reward-based crowdfunding, donor-based crowdfunding, equity-based crowdfunding and debt-based crowdfunding. The top two that most people know are reward-based crowdfunding, which I just described to you a second ago, and then there's donor-based crowdfunding. So donor-based crowdfunding, when you think of GoFundMe, is probably the most popular one that everyone knows. So basically, people make a donation, and you don't necessarily have to provide anything in return for donor-based crowdfunding. For equity-based crowdfunding, it sounds like what it is, which is basically people make a small contribution for some equity in your business or your particular product that you're offering to the public. Okay, and for debt-based crowdfunding, think of it if crowdfunding and credit cards had a baby, right? Unlike credit cards, though, or loans for that matter, it typically has a better interest rate. So you could basically crowdfund a certain amount of money that you need. You could borrow a certain amount of money that you need with a better interest rate from a wide variety of people, as opposed to a bank or one individual. All right. So let's keep it moving. Next slide. And this is just a long list of a wide variety of crowdfunding sites that are out here. Some are good, some are great, some suck. I'm just letting you know they exist. Okay. So, and I break it down by category. Of course, you know, Kickstarter. A lot of people know Indiegogo. For those who don't know, Indiegogo actually came before Kickstarter. And if you're a filmmaker, Indiegogo is definitely a great service to use, because they started, I believe they were launched during the Sundance Film Festival back in 2008, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, definitely Indiegogo is great also because of the fact that they do have the option where if you don't meet your full goal, you can still walk away with some of the funds as opposed to nothing if you're in a situation where you're not fully sure if you can reach your goal. As far as donor-based campaigns or crowdfunding platforms, you got GoFundMe, CrowdRise, you carrying a long list of others. Equity-based, you got Rocket Hub, Crowdfunder, AngelList, Crowdcube, to name a few. And debt-based, you have Lending Club, AngelList, and Funding Circles. Keep it going. All right, and this is just a quick diagram, really quick, of from crowd101.com that just breaks down how people typically spend their money and how they what type of campaigns they contribute to. As you can see, film and video for Indiegogo is at 45%, where on Kickstarter it's more like 26%. Where music is at 22% on Kickstarter, and it's at 4% on Indiegogo. So those are things to consider when you're talking about doing these type of campaigns, like just knowing what type of money opportunities are available on these platforms and who is typically giving up more money for a particular thing. So for example, I know we have a few visual artists here. The arts are getting, visual art is receiving like 9%, is 9% on Kickstarter, while it's only 2% on Indiegogo. All right. So just something to consider. All right. So quick crowdfunding to-do list. These are just some of the things that you can do. There's always something that we may not potentially be thinking of, but it really is kind of based on what you do. But these are some core things that you can focus on. Do your research, right? Basically look into other types of campaigns that may be similar to what it is you're doing. As much as you think what you're doing is something original, chances are it isn't. No offense. And you know, whether you're trying to fund a community center, you're trying to release an album, do a film, whatever it is you're doing, maybe you're creating like some new hardware that is going that you're trying to make available to the public. Any of these things you're trying to create, there's likely something out there that was similar that you can kind of look at to see what worked for them and what didn't work for them. Okay. Also, you want to write your story. Make your story as compelling. Make your story as compelling as possible. You want to make sure that, you know, you're telling them the why. The why is extremely important. why you're doing this particular thing, why you're coming to this platform to do it versus doing it on your own, how much it's going to cost to do it. Like the details are very important, and your story is extremely important and will inspire others to hopefully contribute to what you're offering. You want to make sure that you create a task schedule and calendar, or as the missus mentioned before, a work plan, just to keep your team and yourself focused and figuring out what particular things you need to be working on and when you need to be sharing that content or reporting back with that information. Make sure you're using the right tools and services in terms of like what it is that you're creating. So if you know that you're trying to crowdfund vinyl, for example, then you want to make sure that you do some research and find like quality companies out there that can help you with getting that vinyl manufactured. So whatever industry you're working in, you want to do some research to find out what your best options are ahead of time so you can give accurate information to your audience. Build your team, right? No person's an island. You want to make sure you got a team around you that can help you with this process, whether they're officially a part of the crew or not. If they're willing to help you promote what it is you're doing, if they're willing to post about it, they're willing to share this information with others, you need to have them on the team. Make sure you link with other influencers. Almost every one of us has some type of influencer in our network. Sometimes it's a peer that you know who has seen some success and really appreciates you for a wide variety of reasons, and maybe they're down to help out. Other times it might be somebody right in your household. Maybe you're like 20 plus and you're out here struggling, but your little brother is a superstar on YouTube, you know what I mean, and has a really successful YouTube channel and could potentially help you out. I know that sounds far-fetched. It sounded far-fetched years ago until I met a 13-year-old kid who was making like $30,000 a year via YouTube, and he was just in my classes and just interjected one day like, or you could do this, and then broke down his whole background. You never know. The key is you have to reach out to your network to find out who's an influencer in your network that maybe you didn't think of, who's willing to help out. Okay. Also take advantage of social media. You obviously can leverage it to help get the message out there, to share your campaign and get others supporting it. Prepare a media pack. You can prepare different content that you want to be distributed. You want to make sure that it has your branding on it, the branding that you created around this particular campaign / project. And you want to distribute that to your team and make sure along with your work plan / schedule, so you all can be on the same page and promote. And also part of that media pack is just information that you're actually going to provide to potential media who may want to cover you. Maybe they want to interview you to talk about your campaign. Those type of things happen all the time. Make sure you create reward tiers based on and this is more so if you are doing reward based crowdfunding, but based on what are the things you want to offer. It can range from as little as $1 all the way up to thousands of dollars. All right, based on what you're offering. Film a high quality story / video. You have no excuse. You have no excuse because most of these phones nowadays can shoot full HD. All you need is some quality lighting and a tripod, and you are in business. Don't even need a great microphone. You just need a quiet space. All right. But definitely make sure you provide a high quality video to promote what you're doing, and launch your campaign. Right. And something to think about actually before you launch your campaign is preparing stretch goals. It's great that you know what the main goal is, but what happens if you ended up getting twice that, 3 times that, 4 times the amount that you asked for? If you were able to get that much money, what would you do with it? And knowing that ahead of time as opposed to after the fact is a great way to motivate people to support more. All right? And
all of this we actually provide a service for. So for those who are interested in performing a crowdfunding campaign, again, please feel free to reach out to us via email, and we can definitely be more than happy to walk you through that.
Yep.
All right.
Okay. So here are a couple more recommendations dealing with crowdfunding. Try your best to make time to survey your potential backers ahead of time. All right. It's great that you have an idea for something you want to do, and there's a particular way you want to do it, but you're ultimately going to other people for money, which means that you should consider what it is they want. And it should be extremely important to you, because otherwise your campaign will potentially fail because you're trying to force something on them that they didn't necessarily ask for. And they will make it clear by not supporting your campaign that they don't necessarily want it. So definitely survey your potential backers ahead of time. Consider live events to launch and promote the campaign. Now, obviously, pre-pandemic, I was telling people that, hey, you can actually have an event around the launch of the campaign, like telling people about it where people can interact. But obviously, we're not in a great place to be able to do that right now. That does not mean that you can't do exactly what we're doing right now and go live via YouTube, Instagram, and anything else to basically promote that the campaign is starting, and you can tell people a bit about it. Do a live Q&A or AMA, and just basically get them in the loop and get them inspired to not just support you, but hopefully share and get others to back what you're doing as well. Make sure that while your campaign is running, you can publicly thank your backers in real time. So in other words, if some of your backers actually provide their social media information as well, you can hit Facebook, IG, Twitter, and basically publicly thank these people while simultaneously sharing the link to your campaign and making sure that, most importantly, you tag these people in it. Because some of them may be potential, maybe fellow creatives. So you could help promote the people who are supporting you, right? But also it's another way of it's a less spammy way of promoting your campaign. And rather than promoting it by saying, hey, support my campaign, you're saying, hey, thank you to such and such for supporting my campaign. I appreciate you so much. Link. Bow. There you go. You're welcome. All right. Make sure that you also include old inventory in your campaign if it's possible. You don't have to budget for anything other than packaging and shipping costs, so it allows you to turn a little profit while ridding yourself of excess inventory. All right. Also, I typically tell people to add another 15 to 20% on top of your budget to cover platform fees and also failed pledges from backers, because sometimes people have every intention of supporting your campaign, but the card that they're using expires or will expire before the campaign ends, and around the time that they go to collect the money, they can't. The platform is unable to collect the fee because of the expired card. And a lot of people who typically, a lot of people who are on these platforms don't often check the messaging section, and sometimes the messages from these platforms show up in their spam. So you want to make sure that you're just reaching out as frequently as possible to let people know, or basically when you're doing updates, to remind people to make sure that their information is accurate, both their address if you need to send them something, and also their payment information. All right. Whatever the total number of people in your network, family, friends, colleagues, fans, etc., is, only expect 5 to 10% of them to contribute, and sometimes less, a lot of times less. On average, the bulk of most campaign backers contribute roughly between $10 to $75, which averages out to just under $45. With that, in a network of 1,000 people, if 5% of them contribute an average of $45, you've raised $2,250 in theory, or $4,500 if 10% of them contribute. This is, something to consider, because a lot of times we do things and then we get a bit frustrated when we don't get the support that we believe we deserve. But you also have to consider you're fighting the algorithm that exists on a lot of these sites. So a good amount of people in your network don't even know that you're doing this thing, no matter how often you've been talking about it. If they don't have notifications turned on, they probably don't know you're even doing it. So that being said, something to consider that a lot of people forget: you have a phone. You have a phone. Send text messages, make phone calls, but don't just rely on social media. Whenever you don't even just rely on your mailing list. Whenever you can cut out the middleman, which is, whoever is like guarding whoever the people are that is managing what's happening online, you absolutely have the power to reach out to people directly, and it is time consuming. But it's the least you can do is spend a little time with the people who are contributing to help you make your dream come true. All right. So, and lastly, just remember, the better the reward, the better your options, the better your chances. Put a lot of thought into the rewards and be sure to give the people what they want. All right. While also doing what it is you want to do. So let's keep it moving and let's jump into some quotables. Everything I say should be good. Hip hop quotable.
So what we're gonna do is we have a series of quotes that we're gonna share with you, and I want you in the chat to let us know which one most supports either your feeling or your thought process. So you don't have to quote the whole thing. You could just put the author. So the first one is, when I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I am afraid. And that was written by Audre Lorde. Mm-hmm. Next we have, I grew up thinking art was pictures until I got into music and I found I was an artist and didn't paint. And that was written by Chuck Berry. Mm-hmm. The next one we have is, art is not what you see, but what you make others see. And that was written by Degas. And then I believe, we have two more. So we have another one by Chuck Close. Chuck says, inspiration is for amateurs. The rest of us just show up and get to work. And last but not least, we have by Alex Miner, who, ironically enough, who was actually in here earlier.
Shout out to Alex.
Over time, the brushes have changed, but I am still an artist. And that was written by Alex Miner. So again, so you have, over time, the brushes have changed. We have inspiration is for amateurs by Chuck Close. We have art is not what you see, but what you make others see by Degas. I grew up thinking art was pictures until I got into music. And then when I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important. What most are you connected with? Which quote would you say are you most connected with? Audre Lorde, I don't know why I can't say Lord. Chuck Berry.
About to be like my phone. Lord.
Chuck Close, Degas, or Alex Miner. Just put that in the chat. Which one most closely reflects your vision or how you see yourself as an artist? And also let us know at this time if you have questions. We're actually going to open the floor to, the room, the chat, to questions. So if you have questions at this time, definitely feel free to enter them in the chat and we will address them.
All right. Simone Arabia said the Audre Lorde and Alex Miner quote hitter. Black Bullying was asking about that Bible verse. So if you can bring it back here, and I'm gonna give you. Oh yeah, the verse. So it is
Ecclesiastes
11, chapter 11, verse 1 through 6, and this is from the New International Version Bible. All right. All right, so more people saying that's what's up. Alex getting a lot of love, you know what I mean? Yeah, man. Shout out to Alex. He actually is from Maryland originally, but is now based in Florida. And he's a very talented videographer. He does amazing work. He actually, for those of you who already subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you haven't, hold on, let me hit you with that link. So real quick, so even though you're on YouTube right now, you're currently on the YouTube channel that I have for my music. But what I need you to do is to make sure you follow and subscribe to Art and Music, also known as Sam, on YouTube. And you can do that by clicking this link here. You're very welcome, Black. And also shout out again to Creative Suitland. And I want to shout out Mark. Mark actually made a donation, and so did Simone. So thank y'all both so much. I mentioned before that the information is listed right on the screen here. I can also give y'all links, and for those of you who do utilize Super Chat, you are able to make donations via Super Chat as well. But thank y'all for that. But now it's time for Q&A. So definitely, if you have questions, please throw them at us, and we are here for you. Hold on, I think I just saw one. Chidi said inspiration is for amateurs, others just show up and get to work. Is it weird that that's inspiring too? Yo, hey Chidi, so the reason why that quote's in there, because it's actually one that is extremely inspiring to me, because I think a lot of us as creatives, we want to be able to turn like our art. We want our art to be able to get to a point where we can use it to provide for ourselves and those we care about. Now, what's ironic is we somehow feel like that art is supposed to have a certain level of purity that we don't have that same expectation for like other jobs that we do, to go out and we just go do that job because we got to take care of people we love and ourselves. And we make all types of sacrifices to do this thing, even when we hate it, right? But art and music and all these other creative forms that we love, we don't necessarily, in some cases, I don't see people push themselves the same way to get up out of bed on days where they know they hate that job and they do not want to go, but they will do it because they know they got to provide. And there are other people who sometimes will get up and not necessarily exercise those artistic muscles because they don't feel inspired. They just don't feel like it. But then at the same time will complain when they don't get certain opportunities, and they blame these systems that are in place, some of which are very real. And a lot of times it's just excuses. But the reality of it is people don't often push themselves the same way, or it's just something that we've kind of noticed over the years. Like, I've seen so many people who are interested in the arts or have artistic ability and just kind of let it fall by the wayside, and because they lost inspiration or they never understood the business of it, and so ultimately grew very spiteful of the industry around their art. So Mugen/Warpath's question is, was all my life I focused on traditional art. Would you say I have to transfer to digital to be successful, or would I be successful with traditional art and a scanner? It really kind of depends, right? And I'll let you take it, and then I'll say what I was thinking.
So what I would say is, it's a little bit of both. You have folks, if you're, I don't know what medium you are using. If it's visual arts, he's a
graphic designer as well.
Okay.
But I don't know what else he does.
So with visual arts, especially now in this pandemic, you can't really do shows in the traditional sense or exhibit and have people purchase, your art in that sense. But people are moving towards doing digital and having digital work available. And usually it's cost effective. It's passive income for you because you're not having to produce. You could use a third party printer that will provide, your customer with an opportunity to purchase your artwork, and literally for a nominal fee, you still get paid, and they get the art and they get your artwork. So I would say for visual artists, I would definitely say to do both. Granted, COVID will not be forever, we're hoping. And so there will be a time and place where folks can meet in person and exhibit art, see art, view art in galleries in different spaces. But then, it's also limiting because it has to be people who can ultimately go to these places. If you're trying to reach an international community or even a domestic community, but they're not necessarily in your area, but are, have viewed your art via social media and want to purchase your art, they can still do that in a digital space. So I would say both. I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. She pretty much touched on the stuff I was thinking. So there's nothing else for me to say about that one. Who in the LA link up? Oh, got you. They're just checking to see if anybody's out in LA. Got it. And this quote that's on the screen right now is a quote that I used to say to my students all the time. You are as smart as the questions you think to ask and the research you are willing to do. So definitely, as we mentioned before, this is Q&A, so you could just jump in at any point in time with a question if you have one. And Warpath says, yeah, because I don't think I could give up traditional for good, but I'm definitely down to use digital more. Yeah, I think a healthy balance, finding that fine line between both is the place that maybe you need to try to find to live in, right? Like that space you could live in. Because honestly, we got associates and friends who do both, right? Like, I think of the one brother who we know that did the mural for Spizzy for their location. I mean, for the most part, like, his art is living art. Like he does his art on walls. So like, while he does push what he does online, like he definitely does that. But outside of pushing it online and telling people about what he does online, like for the most part, it's art it's physical art. Like it's on walls, and he's not relying solely on digital, which I'm sure is a bit tougher for him now. But the beautiful thing about his pieces, I mean, he can digitally document his pieces, and then, as Shell said before, offer them on different platforms. So, like whether someone wants that on a shirt or something else.
Right. I mean, and which he actually has done. I mean, he, the mural artist, and for anybody who's a muralist in the chat, I mean, there's different ways. I mean, you could literally photograph your artwork and make it available as posters, wallpaper, T-shirts. If you're an illustrator, you can do coloring books, which are very popular amongst not only kids anymore, but adults as well. So there's definitely a lot of different avenues you can go into. Yeah.
And so another question, someone asked, can you succeed in multimedia and music at the same time? That's a great question. Honestly, I believe so. And a good amount of, so I know you all let me make it so they can see us for a moment. Hold on one second.
Hey.
And we're back. So for example, I'm wearing a shirt right now that says Black of All Trades, right? Which is named after one of my songs. And I'll give you a link to where you can check out our merchandise in a moment. But definitely, I look at myself as someone who started out as a visual artist. I was making visual art before I was making music, right? I went to school for graphic design. Our company, part of how we built our company wasn't just through consultations and these presentations. It's both because we're visual artists. So, like we've done like branding for like schools and small businesses. We've done a lot of visual art, and so I feel like we're an example of people who are doing more than one form of art and being successful in both, right? Or multi-disciplines. But then outside of that, a good amount of people throughout history, whether we're talking about the Renaissance or the Harlem Renaissance, and even a lot of artists nowadays, how many, like you're seeing people like, what's the sister name out in London? Oh my God, I know her name. She's a rap artist from London, black woman, super dope. But she also is a photographer, and has had exhibits and stuff like that. Not just by hobby, but professional. And so, and the list goes on. Like there's a wide variety of examples that we could give. Different folks that we have in our personal, in our inner circle. Shingo 2 is another example. Like Shingo 2 is a musician, but Shingo 2 actually has his own clothing line, like where he's making his own clothing, sending samples out to a place and they're manufacturing that. And, like he just sent me a lookbook not too long ago, and I was showing my wife, who was a fashion design major, and it's really impressive. And to think this brother is a rapper, like he dabbles with visual art as well. Now he's doing fashion design. Like, I mean, you know, it's
there's no limit.
Yeah, there really is no limit. The only limit is the limits you put on yourself, you know. Let's see if we have more. Los Angeles Art says they want to do graph wall. A graph wall, definitely. You know, if you have experience with doing it, or at least have made yourself familiar with the process and you feel like you're ready, you can reach out to local businesses that maybe are in need of like some art on their wall, or like find a space that you can do that and not necessarily have to worry about the legal ramifications. Right. You know, so there are a lot of ways to go about it. I'm a former graph artist too, for those who don't know, and I was doing pieces at a really young age. I want to give back while I'm in the building. Were there any ways that you were able to accomplish this while y'all were building like this? And yeah, definitely. There's just a wide variety of ways we've been able to give back. We've taken our services, and obviously there are family members, there are people in our actual families who actually needed some of our services in cases where they were trying to help build their business. And in other cases, like for example, like we're very familiar with crowdfunding. And then we had a family member that fell very ill, very young member of our family that was very ill. And so, you know, helping you know, like helping my niece in that situation, using our skill to help them reach the goal that they needed to reach, to be able to afford to do what they needed to do what we needed to do as a family. And so those are different ways you can give back in terms of like helping your immediate family. But we've also donated our time to like different schools, whether it was us going out to speak, right. You know, and then also like mentoring different people that we know, whether it was fellow creatives. And then another way you can give back while also receiving a little something for yourself is sometimes not actually charging for your skill, but bartering your talent. And that's something we've done a lot of, where we know a creative that is amazing at a particular thing. And then they need a service that we have, that we provide. And so we exchange, you know, we exchange in that way to help each other. And we do a good amount of business that way as well.
And also through partnering, you know, partnering like with different organizations and different creatives, you know. Just because you know how to do something doesn't necessarily mean you have to do it.
Absolutely.
So if there's someone else that does it better than you, then
like Luna Bunny. Shout out to Luna Bunny.
Shout out to Luna Bunny. You know, then yeah, definitely, you know, utilize and reach out and build your network.
Yeah, for sure. That was my next question. I would love to get into producing, even composing eventually. In college, I made a song in GarageBand and was hooked, but I don't know where to go from there, to be honest. You know, I think a great place to start is just to kind of maybe dedicate a certain amount of time to it. Whether you want to say, I want to work with this a little bit daily, right? Or you want to say, I want to do it twice a week, once a week. Start there, right? Just allocate a certain amount of time out of your schedule to that particular thing. And you know, if it's something that you're just kind of doing as a hobby, just because you like doing it, I mean, you can be a bit more loose with it if you like. If it's something that you're really trying to push it as far as you can take it, I would advise you actually setting a time, sticking to that time, saying that you're going to spend that amount of time with it every week, and basically saying that I'm going to push forward doing that for like several months or a year, and be strict about it. Because that discipline is what's going to make the difference. Because that's what separates the people who do it professionally versus the ones who do it for kicks.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to what we were saying earlier in making time for yourself. This is something for you, and you're putting the time in to do the 10,000 hours that it's going to take in order to obtain mastery. So yeah, whether it's if you're a parent, whether it's, you know, waking up early before the kids, or, you know, staying up late after they go to bed. So just, you know, putting yourself first in that way.
All right. Thank you for the compliment, Simone, about the camera. So the camera that we're utilizing is a Logitech camera. I believe it's a 920C or something like
Amazon.
that. Yeah, Amazon or a wide variety of other places have it available. It's a very popular brand, and they make great cameras.
And good lighting. You have to have. You can't see it.
As great as the camera is, this lighting though. Yeah, I mean,
And it's daytime, so there's little tricks.
So we got the outside light coming in, but we had to go ahead and adjust the blinds so it's not too much. You know what I'm saying? Because I have my, having my baby. We try to show off all the chocolate glory. You know what I'm saying? Have her looking like she's not black. You know what I mean? And and then I have some lighting over here that's helping out as well. So definitely, as great as a camera might be, it's like great lighting is just as important.
Absolutely.
But thank you for the compliment.
Absolutely.
I know I definitely need to get a PC though. Definitely, a computer, having the ability to just have access to that technology whenever you need it makes a big difference. And the beautiful thing is, once you start your business, that computer becomes an asset, and is a tax write-off. So something to think about.
Keep your receipts.
Keep them receipts.
Keep your receipts.
I agree, Simone. I'm watching on my TV. Oh, that's what's up. Appreciate y'all for the quality.
Y'all.
You know what I'm saying? All right.
All for
Listen, how do you reach companies you want to work with? That's a great question.
So I would say with this question in particular, even with the person who is interested in doing a mural, with any company, you want to come correctly, right? So you want to prepare. You could do an initial inquiry to find out who the right person is, because you don't want to just send it to anybody. So you might have to do some research either by Google or maybe even making a phone call. Who is the program manager, or who's the person that deals with outreach, or depending on what the company is. You want to make sure it's getting into the right hands. So that's first and foremost. Next is preparing a proposal. The beautiful thing is, a lot of word processing documents like Microsoft Word, Google Docs, they actually have templates available to you that you can utilize to create a proposal. And you basically want to state, what it is that you want to do, of course, in detail, how it benefits the company, and then also speaks to your experience. Like, why are you qualified to do this particular project that you're proposing? And so and then if you have any images, remember what I was talking to you guys about earlier about preparing your portfolio. So if you have any digital work samples that you can show, but yeah, you want to give a complete package, whether it's a digital PDF document that you email them directly, or you could do it old school and create a package that you mail to them. I mean, granted, mail is running really slow, so you might want to go the digital path, but yeah, you definitely want to just come correct, put your best foot forward, have, dot your I's, cross your T's, and prepare a nice proposal with work samples, a visual aid, basically that really conveys what it is that you're trying to do. Absolutely.
Those of you who are watching right now too, I just wanted to say, if you're enjoying the conversation and you like the sound of our voices, I highly recommend you checking out our podcast. I'm gonna drop the link for you here. Our podcast is called Artistry. You could check it out on our website. It's also available on for Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else where you can check out podcasts. But definitely do that. And once again, if you want to donate, remember that the funds, it's not just for us. It actually goes, part of it goes to Creative Suitland as well. We have an office located in their art center, and they do a lot of great work for the community. Actually, the community where I'm from. And so definitely contribute if you can by checking out the links that you see at the bottom of the screen or in the description of this video. Let's see if I missed any. Okay, that's a great one. Great advice. Would you say I would need to move on to a better program than GarageBand though? Let me go ahead and be unprofessional for a second. Hell no. And the reason why, right? Can you? Yes. Do you need to? No. Every instrumental album that you've heard me put out in the last 3 years, right? Instrumental projects, stuff I've produced for other people, stuff that people are commissioning me right now to produce for them, has been produced in GarageBand. So it really comes down to your ability, right? GarageBand is just a tool, right? Now, there are some tools that maybe work a little better depending on what you're trying to do, but that tool has done me just fine. And I've considered upgrading and changing a few times, but truthfully, what I've been able to create and the growth that I've been able to see in myself and my peers have been able to see over the years, and the fact that I've been able to do this in a program that people usually don't associate with great content says it all, right? Like, it comes down to who the individual is and how they use that tool. So I don't think it's necessary, but if you choose to do that, and it helps you and you feel like you get better results out of something else, more power to you, but it's not necessary. All right. Let's see if I missed anything. What are some of your favorite Black-owned restaurants in the DMV? Okay, and Baltimore. What? Boy, look.
I know.
Let's talk about food.
This is off subject, but
yes,
we have some favorites. I mean, I know in Baltimore.
In Baltimore, Land of Kush.
Land of Kush, if you're a vegetarian or vegan.
What's the joint? Terra Cafe.
Terra Cafe.
That's
is
also Baltimore.
Awesome.
And then if what was it? Isn't what's the brunch spot we used to hit up? Isn't that Black owned? Or what?
Miss Shirley's?
Miss Shirley's. Is Miss Shirley's Black? We don't know for sure of that, but it's amazing. Yeah. But other Black owned joints in PG County, you could check out Spizzy. It's a smoothie shop, and they also got like patties and other types of food. They are awesome.
They're located in Camp Springs.
And
we had the pleasure of doing their branding and logo design work for them.
Yep. You can also check out Food for Life. They're good. Everlasting Life is another Black-owned business, Black-owned restaurant, and it's a vegan as well. Was it in Northern Virginia? You can check out Della J's. Whew, Lord. Della J's is another Black. And yeah, man, food is art. You know what I mean? The food absolutely is art. So definitely those are just some of the restaurants that we frequent. We try to support like 1 to 2 every week. We only go out to eat once or twice a week, and every time we go out, those are some of the places we hit up depending on where we are.
I would say also
Ben's Chili Bowl. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah,
Ben's Chili Bowl. That's legendary as well.
Yeah. For anybody, also, if you have any further questions or want more detailed answers or want to connect, if you could share our email with them.
Sure.
Please, or if you want a copy of this presentation, because we actually have a list of resources that we can share with you that's on the presentation. So please feel free to email us that.
Yep, for sure.
Let's see. Who else? I need a new podcast. Yeah, definitely. Gotcha. Simone has.
All right. So as an MC of a certain age, I make what I love, but I am trying to figure out how to reach people outside of my personal network. How do you really zone in on these analytics to figure that out? So definitely, I think. So knowing your analytics is part of it, but I find that one of the ways to expand your network, right, is through collaboration. So what I would do if I were you, I would look at different artists that you already have in your network, different producers, different vocalists and stuff like that. Some of the people in your network may be on your level, and there may be some that are like slightly higher than you or a lot higher than you, but y'all have a history, a working relationship of some sort. And what I find is building with people I know who, and not just musicians, like even visual artists who maybe are down to collaborate on covers, cover art or different things like that. And y'all make some type of collaboration together. Those are just different ways to get your content, your music, your art, whatever, exposed to more people. And it's a more organic way to build on what you're doing. A lot of how I've been able to build my name over the years has come through collaboration. Whether it was with Nujabes, Odyssey, No from Cunning Linguist, Tone, Kokai, a long list of artists that a lot of you all know. They didn't just randomly hit me up one day and was like, hey, let's do something. A lot of times I just kind of met people while I was out and about. I was doing my thing. They heard what I was doing, respected what I was doing, and then we started having conversations about how we could work together. It's very rare that some of the biggest collaborations that I've done came because of the fact that I was actively trying to hit up people to get on. Most of the time it was we met, We vibed, and then we worked on something. And that's one of the most organic ways to build what you're trying to build. And if you look at some of the greatest artists that we all love and look at the people in their circle and who helped them get on, with the exception of a few newer artists that we know of, because of course, J. Cole put on by Jay-Z, and then that Kendrick was put on by Dre. But who did Dre come up with, right? Dre didn't necessarily, outside of the dude who had the label, Dre didn't necessarily look to artists outside of his network to blow himself up. He started working with the people around him, and they built something together, a quality product that ultimately got the attention of people in a greater network. You understand? So I think we need to look within ourselves, look within our circles. And then, of course, looking at the analytics as well, like to see like, all right, I'm getting a bit of burn in this particular region, right? It seems like people out here like what I'm doing. People over here in this part of Russia like what I'm doing. Do I know any Russian producers that make the sound I like rapping on? Right, that maybe have a little bit of buzz, but not too much buzz that I can't afford them. Right, so those are things that maybe consider as well.
And I would just say, just being a witness, not being a performing artist, but being a witness to some of the programs. There are grant programs to be an arts ambassador.
Yes.
And so Stan recently received the opportunity to be on Next Level. And you could go to their website, but they're affiliated with the State Department. It's sort of like a arts exchange program where they are actively looking for MCs, breakdancers, graffiti artists, etc., videographers,
producers,
exactly. So definitely, just because you are a certain age does not mean that you're limited. And I mean, a lot of times throughout Stan's career, he has been known to be performing in places that are not traditional hip hop venues.
Right.
And
Man.
so that's another avenue I would say to look into is definitely through education.
I used to be a part of a wedding band in real life. I was their
Hey,
beatboxer,
I mean,
rapper, mostly beatboxer though.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's definitely going into different, you could go into different directions.
And it
avenues.
paid better. It paid better than my
pays
regular
very good,
gigs.
yeah.
That was the crazy thing. We did like corporate events and like really big weddings. And I literally, I was getting paid to beatbox, tell me something good, right? Like the guitarist would play that main part and I would beatbox the joint, but I stand off on the side where they couldn't see me. And the drummer would just go like this. And they were looking like, what is going on? And that became a thing. It hit one time and then they just kind of kept calling me up. So you never know, man. Like it sound crazy. And I was doing this while simultaneously having like, what was it, like a video on MTV or whatever was going on at the time. But it was another way to monetize what I was doing, and just created other opportunities. So you never know. Don't necessarily limit yourself as well. Keep an open mind. So we got a few.
Yeah. And
Let's see. And then we got to get to those resources too. A few. My last question would be, since I talked to you on Facebook, would you be okay with me bouncing a few beats and pictures off you? That's fine. Go ahead, send it to it. And we also dropped our email in there, so you can send it there as well. Definitely want a copy of the presentation.
Sure.
Yeah, please just make sure you either contact us via email, or you could go to our website and just register to join our mailing list, and then we'll confirm with you that you were a guest today, and we'll send it to you. Yes, thank y'all. Totally agree with Los Angeles art. I used to Procreate and have Affinity Designer as well, and I never touched Photoshop. Word. I mean, it really depends. Like if you're working for yourself and you're getting the job done, then you don't necessarily need to use what the tool of the industry is. But if you're going into the corporate setting and you're working for major companies and your clients that you're bringing in, even as an independent artist, are dealing with this particular thing, then you need to know it. So it really it depends. All right, appreciate the podcast. Definitely will check for other media and channels. We appreciate you. Thank you. Drake was rich, son connected him, no doubt. Appreciate it. Thank you so much, Simone. That was very sweet.
Thank you.
Research those grants; they are there. Absolutely. We just applied for something for our a grant for our podcast. Yes, they exist too. Grants for those. Shout out to Kokai, who literally got a grant to go to Ethiopia to do episodes of Beats and Beans. I'm like, yo, you be surprised what is out there. You just have to actively be looking for it.
And you have to actively prep,
Yes.
do as much prep ahead of time so that you're
Absolutely.
ready.
Students, it just slow my PC down. Appreciate it. All right, word. So look, we got to get ready to go, but let me go back to the presentation for a moment, just to show you these resources that we want to make sure you all can get as well. And keep in mind, we will send you a copy of this as long as you sign up to join our mailing list, and we have a way to send it to you. Okay. So real quick, these are just some resources for small businesses. Copyright.gov, copyrighted.com, and LegalZoom. Just different ways to protect your brand and your product. Legal services, LegalZoom again, Rocket Lawyer, and obviously none of this beats an actual lawyer. Like
Right.
if you know real lawyers personally, and you can go that route, absolutely. But these are just alternatives, okay? Social media managers, you can check out Buffer. CoSchedule is another good one. Hootsuite, which I'm sure you're familiar with. Social Sprout and TweetDeck, but the ones I use the most are IFT, which is IFTTT, which stands for If This Then That. It is free and it is a great tool. It's hands down one of the best tools that you can use to manage your social media. In fact, every day when you see it say "Peace World, Good Morning" for me on Twitter, that's IFT doing that for me. Every time you see a link being shared for one of my playlists because a song has been added, that's what IFT is doing for me. All right. Trademark, you can go to uspto.gov and LegalZoom for trademarking. But again, if you know a trademarking lawyer, that is your best route. URL redirect / shortening sites, Bitly and Smart URL are the ones I use the most, but Linktree is extremely popular, and these are some other ones you could check out. Let's go to the next one. All right, for musicians, these are just different audio hosting sites,
Sure.
and I know we got to wrap it up, but you could check these out, when you get the document, but definitely take a look at this, and you can always come back to this video. I'm gonna leave this video on the channel, and those of you, if you haven't subscribed yet to our actual YouTube channel for our business, I'm gonna give you that link one more time. And after I give you that link, I'm gonna remind you that if you'd like to donate, please do so by checking out these links. So hold tight 1 second. All right, hold on. So here is the link for our YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe there as well. And then here is the info for those of you who are willing to make a donation to us and Creative Suitland for providing today's presentation. All right. And then and lastly, I just wanted to also and I'll put it on another slide for you. And these are more resources for artists. Remember, this video will be up so you can come back and see it here, or we can actually send it to you. But really quick, I just wanted to say that and let me transition back to us. Hi, we're back. Bow, there we go. And so really quick, if you like the shirts that we're wearing, they are available on our website, which is subartandmusic.com. So you can check out merchandise on our store. We actually launched some new merchandise. You might have heard me say a few times in the past, my friends are dope. Yeah, we actually have a shirt for that. Let me put that link one more time because it didn't put a space. Bow. There we go. But definitely check out the merch. That's another way to support, or you can donate using the information that I posted above. And thank y'all so much, man. I hope you enjoyed the presentation today. I hope you found a lot of great information, or at least something that you could utilize. I do have one last question before we go because we're over time by 3 minutes. If you would like us to continuously do these presentations, my thought is that I've been doing the live performances once every 2 months, and I'm gonna continue to do that throughout the year. And then the months in between, we can offer some of our different workshops that we do outside of just the starter kit. We have some that are much more detailed, that kind of focus on some of the things that we talk about and give you even more information. Because remember, this was just the starter kit. There's way more info out there that we provide our clients and other people. So we're down to do it. But I just want to know from you all, like in the comments, if you could let us know in the chat or in the comments if you watch this later, if you'd like us to continue doing these and we could offer these to you for free online every 2 months. And yeah. And so just let us know. And thank y'all so much.
Thank you. We had this has been, this has definitely been something that we've been wanting to do and have been doing.
I was gonna say, yeah, we've been doing
and
it.
we've been doing and we're just so happy that we were able to do it in this platform, in this setting. And so again, if you have any further questions, concerns, comments, definitely please reach out to us via email. Some of the other services that we offer, in addition to of course, offering these workshops, we do provide consulting. We do provide music production, collaboration, voiceover work.
Yeah, it's official now.
Yeah, so we're very busy, but we definitely make the time, and you'll definitely receive that white glove service. Should you decide to sign
with. Which is key nowadays. Which is key nowadays. I'm sorry.
Gloves and mask service.
Right, gloves and mask service. Even via email.
Right. But yeah, so and then if you are need of assistance as far as logo or branding or marketing, social media, we also provide that. So definitely hit us up. Reach out, ask your questions, and then we'll be sure to see you on the next.
Yeah, and lastly, if you are an illustrator, graphic designer, like some type of visual artist, and you yourself are struggling to find work, what we are starting to do, we are branching out and looking to build up our team. Shout out to Luna Bunny, who we've been working with, to basically provide certain services to different clients that we service. So. For those of you who are looking for a shot and looking for a company to partner with who can help you possibly reach some more clientele, definitely reach out to us because we are interested in building a team. Because right now we literally have been averaging a client a week this year, and it's starting to get kind of difficult as a 2-person operation, 3 if you include Luna Bunny. But definitely we could use some help to continue to provide these great services to the community. So. Reach out if you're interested. We would love to see your work, and we look forward to hearing from all y'all. So, hey, thank y'all for tuning in. We're going to go ahead and send you out. I just, hold on, let me do something real quick. I feel like we need some parting music. You want some parting music?
Sure.
Why not? You know what I'm saying? Let's get that parting music loaded up. And then, yeah, man, so we will see y'all soon. Make sure you follow. There's a bunch of links that are in the description of this video and in the chat, whether you were watching live or you or caught the replay. We appreciate you so much. So thank y'all again.
And again, if you are able to donate, and again, any nomination would suffice. It's really for a great cause, promoting the arts in the Suitland area, in the Suitland, Maryland community with Creative Suitland. So again, thank you so much for spending your afternoon with us. We wish you the best of luck and continued success.
Yes, indeed. So, y'all have a good one. We are out.